good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to the GB Gaming Podcast. This is episode 25, and I'm Dave talking to you on GB Gaming, where video games come first. It's been quite some time since I made an episode of this podcast. I think it's been, I want to say at least 5 weeks, maybe 6 weeks. I think the last episode was late February, and I can't remember what it was I was talking about. It was so long ago. I remember talking about Horizon Forbidden West briefly, and how like Horizon Forbidden West came out, and I got stuck into that for a solid, I want to say 2 weeks, but then I just stopped for reasons that I'll get into later in this episode. But the last thing that I remember talking about was Horizon Forbidden West. The new Halo TV series, which at the time wasn't released yet, Metroid Prime 4, the Nintendo Direct that happened that month, the fact that Sony just bought Bungie, and that Call of Duty was to remain multi-platform, the Nintendo, Wii U, and 3DS eShops shutting down. A lot happened in the month of February. And March was arguably even bigger. So I'm really excited to talk about this, but I'm a bit rusty, as it were. I've not really been asked, if I'm brutally honest, to do any content whatsoever. I mean, I got bored one day and looked at all the content that I had yet to release on my channel for whatever reason, and I found that I actually started Persona 5 Royal about 2 years ago, and I recorded some gameplay footage in parts. So what I'm doing right now is I'm currently releasing those episodes every so often throughout the remainder of the year. And it's unknown whether or not I'll go back to Persona 5 Royal. At the moment, I have no intention to, because I've got other games that I'm currently playing at the moment. And I'm playing, I've gotten into a lot of games lately, and I'll get into that as well. But no, just so much has happened in the last month that I'm quite excited to jump into now. So I guess we'll get into it then. But yeah, okay, let's go. So if this is your first time here, like I said, I want to welcome you to the GB Gaming Podcast. Also, as I said, this is episode 25. For the, I don't know what date this is going to release in, so I'm going to say Monday the 11th of April, but it could probably change, but let's just say it's Monday, the 11th of April, and it's been about 6 weeks, almost, since I made an episode, and full reason, couldn't be bothered. There was plenty of news stories that came out, but I couldn't be bothered talking about it. I couldn't be bothered booting up the computer, and setting up Audacity, and turning on the microphone, and opening up all the news pages, and reading through them. I couldn't be bothered. I just wanted to have a break from making content. And that's partly the reason. The other reason was, I've been in a lot of pain lately, physical pain, and I've also been a little bit stressed out outside of that as well. First world problems, really. And I've also been distracted by something else that was more of a positive note. So, it's a mix of reasons why I haven't made content, but the biggest reason was I couldn't be bothered, and I've been in a lot of pain. But I'm going to get to the pain part, because I've always wanted to talk about this, but could never talk about it properly, because I can't explain really what the problem is, at least until now. So, I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story. So, story time with Dave. This is probably going to be the first and only time I'll do this. But story time with Dave. So let's rewind back to the year 2006. Particularly March, April, or May. Around this time. I used to do backyard wrestling. I'm pretty sure a lot of people my age did it. At the time, wrestling was at its all-time high of popularity. Well, yeah, I would actually say so. So it was 2006. I used to do backyard wrestling. And it wasn't just backyard wrestling where you would just literally go outside and record yourselves battering fuck out of each other and that's that. We had a fairly decent setup, with minus the ring. We had our own website. We had our own roster. We had our own music. We had our own YouTube channel. We even rented a location that, like, what was it? It was the local leisure centre. You know, it would be bowling alley, you know, play area, ice rink. But the upstairs area wasn't being used, so we rented it out and used it as a venue. And we had, you know, we had mats. We actually had use of all the lights. Do you know, this venue was an ice rink that wasn't being used. So there were lights there, like, I don't know what they're called, like spotlights, disco lights, all that kind of. We had control of them, so we used to use them an awful lot as well. So we actually had quite a decent setup. The only problem that we had with it was we were making a lot of noise, so we were always told to keep the noise down at the minimum because. But what helped was when the downstairs area was actually using their own music to drown out anything we were doing upstairs. We had a curtain so that nobody could see through. We had a pretty elaborate setup for what it was. Really, we done everything right except know how to fucking do it properly. But it was fun. But there was a point though, before we did all that, before we did the lights, we used to just go to the back of warehouses where there was a grass area and just set up everything there, provided that security didn't kick us away from the area. So we broke a lot of rules leading up to renting places and whatnot. But it was fun. But there was a point where am I going with this? I broke my collarbone, basically, is where I'm going with this. So in 2006, around March, April, May, I was wrestling someone. Don't get me wrong, we both didn't know what we were doing. It was more of an improvisation, really. But there was a point where I had the momentum, the offensive, so to speak, and he was to counter by picking me up or pushing me away, or doing anything. I remember whispering to his ear, counter, or push me away, or something. And what he did was he proceeded to pick me up, but he didn't tell me what move he was going to do, or at least I couldn't prepare myself for what move he was going to do. It wasn't his fault. It was both of our faults, really. It was just a miscommunication. We weren't doing it properly. You know, we were 17 years old and 16 years old and stupid. But anyway, he picked me up and he dropped me. It wasn't a body slam, it wasn't anything, it was just a pick up and drop. But the way he dropped me was a case of I landed on my right shoulder, right arm, and my collarbone broke. The pain was excruciating. But, so that was that. I told him to pin me, 1, 2, 3, whatever. So I broke my collarbone, but I didn't know I broke my collarbone until like a day or two later. Because I remember my poor mother, she doesn't want to hear things like that. She doesn't want to hear that I'm in pain. She doesn't want to hear that I'm struggling with anything. She's more of a case of, oh, it's just you've just pulled a muscle. You've just bruised it. Oh, you'll be fine. You've just torn something, whatever. And I believed it too, but I remember feeling in so much pain. And I remember waking up the following morning and seeing this yellow aura, this yellow colour going around my collarbone area. And I went to my mother and I said, Mum, this doesn't look right. You need to take me to A&E. So she took me to A&E, and I got an x-ray. It came back. It turned out it was broke. Okay, you've broke your collarbone. I'm delighted because I get to have 6 weeks off school at this point. So that was it. That was that. And then I just waited until it got better, and then I just went about my business again. Took the sling off and went back to school, did my exams, well, quote unquote, did my exams. And that was it, summer holidays, whoopie-doo-doo. Whoopie-dee-doo. And then, that was that really, but the bone, it's still like this by the way, but the bone fused in such a way where the bone looks like it's sticking out. Not out of the skin, it's just that you can see the shape of it. And back when I was 17, I was really skinny, so you could see even more. And I just thought that was normal, and everyone else seemed to think it was normal. It's just the way the bone fused. And that was that. I just ignored it, and that was it. And then 2 years later, I want to say 2009, and I remember where I was when this started to happen. But 2 years later, I started to feel this dull pain in my right shoulder, going down to my around the bicep tricep area, the upper arm area, going down to my elbow. I started to feel this dull pain, and I remember when it was around that time because I was playing Battlefield 1943, and and I remember what I was doing when I started to feel this pain. I was doing the air superiority online mode. Strange how I remember things like this, but I was doing the air superiority mode on Battlefield 1943 with a friend of mine who was a good friend at the time, and I remember saying it to him over the microphone. I remember saying, "Mate, my arm is like really fucking sore all of a sudden." It wasn't sore; it was like a dull pain, like someone punched me in the arm and it went dead. So it felt like a dead arm, and I couldn't explain it. Uh it got worse over the month because it got to a point where I couldn't sit still without the pain coming. It would go away when out walking or if I moved my arm, it went away. But sitting still or lying in bed, it was excruciating. And this came out of nowhere. It started as a dead arm sensation and it just got worse and worse and worse. So I went to the doctor and he just put me on these painkillers, the cold gel or the freeze gel. I was stocking up on deep heat all the time. You know, people would come visit me and they would come into my room and they'd be like, "Dave, your room stinks of deep heat. You're putting too much on." It's not that I was putting too much on. Well, I probably was, but I was putting it on like 4 times a day. Morning, afternoon, evening, and night time before going to bed. I was constantly putting this stuff on my shoulder because I was in so much fucking pain. And like between then and now, ever since, it's just been a case of it comes and go. It came and went, and I put it down to just this muscle pain. And I would get deep freeze gel. I would get all sorts of freeze gel. I would be stocked up on painkillers and Nurofen and paracetamol and free sprays. And I would always find I was always find rheumatic pain gel or whatever the fuck. And that's just the way it's been since 2009. Until it came back. Now, it comes back every year, at least once. I'm in pain at least once a year. And it came back recently. Only this time, it came back when the job I'm doing is quite physically demanding. Not completely physical. I'm a cleaner. I am a contract cleaner by day. Or by night, I suppose, because I do a night shift as well. And it involves a lot of lifting heavy buckets of water and mopping and a lot of arm movement, a lot of exercise in the arms with this job, and it doesn't translate well to the pain I have. But it got to a point where the arm started to hurt again, to the point where it started from the shoulder, worked its way down to my wrist, and now it's bleeding over to my lower back. Now, the back pain, I don't know if it's related, but I've had a lot of back pain recently as well, particularly on the right side. But my missus is convinced it's the left side, because every time she goes to apply the gel, it's the left side of my back which is tense, but the right side isn't. Whatever. Either way, my back is sore, and so is my shoulder. And yesterday I got kind of sick of it. Well, not yesterday, last week I got kind of sick of it. So I decided, I went up to my missus and I says, "Look, this pain's back again, it doesn't make sense." And she loves biology. She loves the human body. She loves finding out how it works. She's basically a nurse without actually being a nurse. She is a doctor without actually being a doctor. She knows, I'm not saying she's an expert, but she just loves that field. She loves medical stuff. She loves diagnosing pain. She likes finding out why things happen to the human body. She loves all that stuff. So if I've ever got a problem with pain or anything like that, I will always go to her, because she knows exactly what she's talking about. She's nearly always right. She was able to determine whether or not I had, what was it? I had this rash on my hand there a few weeks ago, and I couldn't make heads or tails what was wrong with it. I was convinced it was the gloves I was wearing, But then she asked me, are you putting your hand in buckets of bleach? I says, but I'm wearing gloves though, so it shouldn't be happening. She says, yeah, but sometimes when you put your hand in the bucket of bleach, it's going to bleed down the entrance area of the glove and go into your hands, and you're closing that off from air, and it's probably chemical burn you've got. Turned out it was chemical burn because it's went away. I'm still wearing the gloves, and it's not came back. She was right. But in this situation, I told her about the shoulder pain. She's always known about the shoulder pain, but she's only listened to how I've perceived it, how I've portrayed it, how it feels to me, and I've told her what it is. She's never stopped to think what it could be. And to this day, I still don't know what it is really, but I think I might have made some sort of a breakthrough on what the pain could be. Now, the collarbone thing is about to make sense in a second. So, she asked me, when did you break your collarbone? Did you break it before or after you started getting this pain? I said, before. How long ago was it? I said, it was about 2 years. She says, maybe it's not a muscle pain you've got. Maybe it's a nerve pain. Like a pain in the nerve area. Like, nerves, tendons, all this kind of shit. Something like that. And, oh, here we go. I'm after forgetting what it could be. I'm just looking it up now because she's not home, so I can't ask her to. But, like, the clavicle area has been sore for the past 10 years. I told her that. And she says, maybe it's some sort of nerve pain, like nervous pain. I says, how could that even happen? She says, apparently it's common when people break a collarbone. She also asked me this, actually, before I get further. She also asked me, did you go for a follow-up x-ray after the bone break, the collarbone healed? I said no. She said you should have. And I said, why? And she says, because I don't think your collarbone fused back properly. And that led me to think a bunch of different things. I started to think, maybe that's why it looks like it's sticking out. Because maybe, I'm reckoning maybe I took the sling off too early. Because it did get to a point where I was sick of wearing the sling. So I would say about 6 weeks it takes for a collarbone to heal. I think I started taking the sling off about 5 weeks. Because I wasn't actually feeling excruciating pain anymore taking the sling off. So it kind of, maybe I took the sling off too early and it caused the bone to not heal properly, and it maybe fused the wrong way. And I said this to her, and she said, this is probably the reason why you've had pain in your shoulder to arm area for so long. And it's always the right side. I says, but it was the left side once. She says, that was probably some viral thing. I can't remember what it was she said. But there hasn't been a pain in the left side since. It's always been the right side I'm getting the pain. It always starts in the collarbone area. And to this day, I actually still feel awkward pushing things with my right side or pulling things with the right side because I think I'm going to break the collarbone again. Now, that could be just natural, you know? Could just be natural. But she started to make a lot of sense with it. So, while talking to my missus on Facebook Messenger, I was in work at the time and I was just having a little bit of downtime. Wasn't really that busy. She was texting me this whole time and she was asking me a bunch of questions again. She thinks that I could possibly have actually, do you know what? I'm going to rewind a little bit. I made an appointment with the doctor and I asked him, could I get an x-ray about this? And he fobbed me off. At least I'm taking it as he fobbed me off because he said, you don't need an x-ray. You just need to exercise more. Now, my doctor he's lovely, and he has helped me with many different things, particularly with skin problems, because he's also a skin doctor as well. And he helps, but at the same time, he is that typical doctor that will put every problem down to exercise and fitness. He puts everything down to that. Every single time I've complained to him about pain somewhere, he always says, you'll need to lose weight. He always says, you need to exercise more. But in this particular case, now I don't visit him that often. I think the last time I visited him was about a year ago. And this particular instance really pissed me off because I haven't been more busy than I am in my job right now recently. Because I'm doing about 43 hours. I'm up at 5:30 in the morning and I'm home at 8 o'clock in the evening. You know, I'm very busy. I'm a busy man physically. I cycle every day. I have Google Fit on my phone, and I'm always passing the recommended heart points. I'm healthy in a way. I'm not completely unhealthy. I'm not sick, and I'm not unfit. I'm perfectly fine. I'm normal. But he's making it out like I'm lazy and I don't do anything and I'm whatever. So he didn't refer me for an x-ray, and it really frustrated me. And I got home, I was frustrated, and I decided maybe I should get a second opinion. And my missus said, before you do that, let's find out what it could be so that you can explain what the problem is. Because it was around this time she was asking me how I got the pain, when I got the broken collarbone or whatnot. And she thinks that I might have... Now, I'm trying to pronounce this. Thoracic outlet syndrome. She thinks I might have that. And now, we've did this so many times. We've did this with frozen shoulder, with all this shit. And it's always a point of looking at the symptoms. And it's always been, yeah, it could be that, it could be that, it could be that. Oh, but I never have this. It can't be that. Same with everything else. Frozen shoulder. It could be. It sounds like I have this. It sounds like I have this, but it doesn't make sense for me to have this, so it can't be that. Thoracic or thoracic, don't know how to pronounce it. Thoracic outlet syndrome is the closest it's ever been to being uncanny similar to what is wrong with my shoulder. And I was going through it, and I'm not the type to diagnose myself. I want a professional opinion first before I make decisions on what I want to do. I think it might be thoracic outlet syndrome because, and this is what it says, thoracic outlet syndrome occurs when there is impingement on the nerves or blood vessels in an area between your clavicle, collarbone, and ribs in the space between your neck and shoulder joint, which is where I've been getting the pain the past 10 years. Most often, thoracic outlet syndrome in gamers will come secondary to poor posture, slouching forward in their chairs and leaning towards the screen while gaming. Another condition which may lead to thoracic outlet syndrome is upper crust syndrome. And I looked that up, and upper crust syndrome is basically like imbalance in your posture. You know, it's basically poor posture. That's basically what it is. You know, and yeah, I do have poor posture. That also makes sense. I do sit forward when I'm playing video games. I play video games every day, so I'm sitting bad. My posture's bad every day, so that also doesn't help. And it also says that impingement within the space between the clavicle and the ribs, where nerves and blood vessels travel from the neck and thorax to the arms. And I'm looking at a diagram of this, and it makes a lot of sense. The arrows that are pointing to the areas match where the pain is for me. It's so close. Like, I can't even begin to explain how similar this looks to the pain I'm having. It's the closest it's ever been. And it makes sense, because it's also common in people who have broken a collarbone, and it can take years for this pain to come in, sometimes 2, sometimes 10 years. The symptoms, I looked at the symptoms, and the symptoms are as follows: numbness and tingling, The first sign is usually a change in sensation to your arm. In this case, it was the dead arm sensation. Weakness or rapid fatigue, same thing. My arm feels tired more quickly than normal. Muscle wasting. Now, I don't know what this actually means, except it says here, if the nerve compression is severe or chronic, you may notice atrophy or a decrease in size of any muscle from your shoulder to your hand. I didn't really notice this. Discoloration. It can go pale blue or cold to touch. Now, that's the vascular one. I don't know if I have that one. More pronounced symptoms when you pull your shoulders back or down. Worsening symptoms during or after gaming. Relief or improvement of symptoms after warming up or performing light to moderate physical activity. Now, with that particular line, the third bullet point, light to moderate physical activity, that is giving my doctor's opinion an edge. Because that's what he said. Now, that's fine. I don't mind that. I will perform light to moderate physical activity if it means the pain going away. The problem is, it only goes away with that. I'm not exercising when I'm sleeping. You can sit there and you can tell me the exercise will lighten the pain. And it does. But it doesn't explain why I'm waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning in almost tears with agony with the shoulder because of the way I lie down. I can't help that. So, yes, exercise does relieve the pain, but it doesn't help when I'm sleeping because I'm not exercising when I'm sleeping. The bad posture makes sense. I do have bad posture. I'm not going to dance around it. I do have bad posture. That doesn't help. Now, the prevention, the simplest way to prevent and treat thoracic outlet syndrome is to monitor your posture. Gaming posture is what I'm already trying to work on that right now. I've got 2 beanbags that I now sit on, with one beanbag being what I sit on, and the other beanbag being something that I put my leg up on. And I also put a pillow behind me so that I'm not sitting up against anything rock solid, and it's comfortable. And it has helped. It has helped a lot. Exercises does seem to alleviate the pain. However, it doesn't explain why I'm in agony overnight. And I don't know if... See, if I can get diagnosed with that, I'll be able to manage it better. But I would like to be told that that's what it is I've got. I want to be told. That's basically my problem. I want to be told that I've got this thing. You know, it's not just a muscle pain. It's not just a dead arm pain. It's not just a tear of a muscle, whatever the fuck it is. It has to be this. If it's not, fine. I'll go back to what I was doing until I can figure out what it is. But this is the closest it's been. The diagrams, the description, the people that it commonly affects, ergo gamers, people who play video games, which is me. Now, I was figuring out where the connection between that and my collarbone is, and people have been saying that it is common with people who have broken a collarbone. I can't remember where it was I seen that. I'll go back to the message that she said to me. She also said that my broken collarbone, because it didn't heal properly, it can cause abnormal clavicle, which makes sense as well. So TOS is what it's shortened to. Shut up. Yeah, so clavicle pain. So I'm hoping that this is what it could be. And yeah, I hope that's what it is. But basically, that's been my my physical health problem, is the shoulder pain. I'm 1 inch closer to finding out what the problem actually is, and this is the closest it's ever been. So I hope that's what it is, because then if it is, I'll know exactly what to do to manage it. I'll know exactly what to do to fix it, hopefully. Worst case scenario, or I should really say best case scenario, that it is the clavicle being fused bad, and that I can get surgery for it. That's the best case scenario. That's the You know, everything going the way I expect it to, and the best possible outcome is that I can get surgery to fix it. That is the best possible scenario. Is it the most realistic scenario? I don't know, because I don't actually know if this is what it actually is. I hope it is, because it makes a lot of sense from what I'm reading. But I'm not the type of person to diagnose myself on the internet. I use it as some sort of guideline. What I'm not going to do is I'm not going to go to another doctor for a second opinion and tell him that I think it's this. I'm going to explain what the problem is and explain what it could be. Or ask what it could be, should I say. I'm not going to mention TOS or whatever it's called. I want them to tell me that it's TOS. So that's what I'm going to wait to do. But that's basically one of the things I've been dealing with for the past month, and it's been a nightmare. But I'm a little bit better than what I was a week ago, so hopefully it's the start of it going away again. But it's never been this bad in a long time. That's enough about me and my health. I don't want to bore you with those details. So let's get into something that's a little bit more fitting for what this podcast is all about. And that is, of course, the world of video games and everything that happened in the last 5 or 6 weeks. Now, a lot happened. A lot happened. So we're going to talk about a bunch of different things. And the first thing I want to talk about is PlayStation. I want to talk about PlayStation and their new PlayStation Plus subscription service. And what it means. And what it is. It finally got announced. And it's finally coming this year around summertime. And it's going to get rolled out over the course of the rest of that side of the year. And I'm looking forward to it, I guess. You know, PlayStation Plus has needed some sort of a revamp for a while. At the moment, as it stands, it's quite an expensive endeavour to subscribe to PS Plus and to subscribe to PlayStation Now. So, the fact that it's merging everything together makes a lot of sense. So, I'm going to start by talking about what the new PlayStation Plus service actually is and what it means for us as PlayStation gamers, particularly. Just going to pull this up, and I'm pulling this from blog.playstation.com. So this is a PlayStation blog. This news story came out on March 29th, 2022. All new PlayStation Plus launches in June with 700 plus games and more value than ever. This is from Jim Ryan, President and CEO of Sony Interactive Entertainment. And it says, since launching the PlayStation Plus in 2010, Sony Interactive Entertainment has been at the forefront of innovation with game subscription services. We were thrilled to be the first console membership service that included a refreshed library of games through PlayStation Plus, and also launched the first console game streaming service with PlayStation Now. Today, we are pleased to share with you official news about changes coming to our subscription services. This June, we're bringing together PlayStation Plus and PlayStation Now in an all-new PlayStation Plus subscription service that provides more choice to customers across 3 membership tiers globally. Our focus is on providing high-quality, curated content with a diverse portfolio of games. Below is an overview of the 3 membership tiers, and they go on to explain that there are 3 tiers called PlayStation Plus Essential, PlayStation Plus Extra, and the highest tier, PlayStation Plus Premium. And I'm going to go through exactly what each tier gives you. So the lowest tier, PlayStation Plus Essential, is essentially what you are currently getting with a PlayStation Plus subscription. The exact same benefits that PS Plus members are getting today, such as 2 monthly downloadable games, exclusive discounts, cloud storage, and online multiplayer access. If you are a PlayStation Plus subscriber leading into this merge, Nothing will change. You will be transferred into the essential tier, essentially. And that's going to be, I'm going to talk in Europe terms. That's going to be €8.99 monthly, $24.99 quarterly, and $59.99 yearly, with it being £7, £20, and £50 respectively if you're living in the United Kingdom. PlayStation Plus Extra, which is the middle tier, gives you all the benefits from the essential tier on top of a catalogue of up to 400 of the most enjoyable PS4 and PS5 games, including blockbuster hits from our PlayStation Studios catalogue and third-party partners. Games in the extra tier are downloadable for play. So it's basically PlayStation Now. So if you have a PlayStation Plus Extra tier, you get all the benefits of PlayStation Now and all the benefits of PlayStation Plus for a price of €99.99 a year, or €40 quarterly, or €14 monthly. That's £11, £32, and £84 respectively. And then you've got the PlayStation Plus Premium service, which sounds like what I would like. The benefits of the PlayStation Plus Premium service provides all the benefits from the previous two tiers and adds up to 340 additional games, including PS3 games available via cloud streaming, a catalogue of beloved classic games available in both streaming and download options from the original PS1, PS2 and PSP generations, offers cloud streaming access for original PS1, PS2, PSP and PS4 games offered in the extra and premium tiers in markets where PS Now is currently available. Customers can stream games using PS4 and PS5 consoles and PC. Time-limited trials will also be offered in this tier, so customers can try select games before they buy. And that is the most expensive tier, with it costing €17 monthly, €50 quarterly, and €120 yearly, with it being £13.50, £40, and £100 respectively. Now, at first I was really annoyed that the highest tier involved you being able to stream PS3 games, and because not everyone has the ability to stream. So they made a compromise for this. They also included PlayStation Plus Deluxe for select markets. So for markets without cloud streaming, PlayStation Plus Deluxe will be offered at a lower price compared to Premium, and includes a catalogue of beloved classic games from PS1, PS2 and PSP to download and play, along with time-limited game trials. Benefits from Essential and Extra tiers are also included. So basically it gives you everything except the streaming part for a lower price. Now, it goes on and on and on. But here's my issue with this. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm happy that original PS1 games, PS2 games, PSP games are coming to this. But, you know, I suppose it is an issue, but it's not an issue, because I really don't give a fuck. A lot of comparisons are being made to Game Pass in this regard. Particularly the inclusion of day one exclusives that are not going to be available on PlayStation Plus. Now, the day one exclusive thing, or even day one on Game Pass, is something that everyone goes on about when talking about Game Pass. That's the big thing. Day one on Game Pass. Which means a brand new game will come out more often than not, Xbox exclusives, and instead of paying full price for the game, you can get it included with your subscription the day it comes out. Or in some cases, a few days after it comes out. So, obviously, PlayStation's not going to have that. It's a little bit annoying that is going to cost what it does in comparison to Game Pass. But I think Game Pass is slightly more expensive. So there is a compromise there, but at the same time, I'm not really that bothered about the lack of day one game or day one availability. Because with PlayStation, it's a little bit. You see, it's strange. I don't know what it is. Maybe this is me being a PlayStation fanboy without realising it. Because I do have an Xbox One X and I have a PlayStation. And I am part of both ecosystems. I play games on anything. But when it comes to PlayStation, I don't mind paying full price for a PlayStation exclusive. I really don't. It doesn't bother me. So maybe that just comes down to being having the benefit of being able to afford this stuff. Well, I don't always afford it. I mean, I don't buy games day one. I never buy games day one. Not often. Sometimes I will, but not as often as I used to. But there are plenty of PlayStation exclusives that I am looking forward to playing, but I don't know if I'll buy them day one. I will buy them, but it's just a case of saving up to get it. And it is a little bit sucky that you're not getting day one with PlayStation Plus, and the reason that's not there is a little bit tone deaf. I mean, well, it's tone deaf, and it's also a case of I kind of understand where he's coming from. I'm paraphrasing here, but he basically said that we're not doing day one because it would compromise the quality of our games going forward if we did that. Something along those lines, which it basically translates to, we need your money to make these games the way we make them. We need you to pay full price for the games. And it comes across as a little bit snooty in a way. I don't know why I thought that, but that's just what it came across. But either way, I'm looking forward to seeing what it needed. It needed a merger. It needed a merger. It needed to be shook up a little bit. So I'm happy that they're finally doing it, and I'm just waiting to see what they are going to give us in terms of actual games, particularly those of the PS1, PS2, and PSP generations. I'm curious to see what games they include in the PlayStation Plus premium tier. My first guess is that they'll probably include most of, if not all, of games that were included on the PlayStation Classic. And if you don't know, the PlayStation Classic was one of those consoles in the mini department that came out to compete with the SNES Mini, the NES Mini, the Mega Drive Mini, the TurboGrafx Mini, all those miniature consoles. The PlayStation Classic came out to mediocre to negative feedback. The games on it were not that great. I mean, they were fine, but they really fucked it up in the performance department. And that some of the games that were released on that console came out in worse quality than they were if you played them originally. The emulation was bad. You know, I bought one for €30, mainly because it was so cheap and I could hack the fucking thing into oblivion. But even then, the games don't run very well on it. So it's mainly just a display piece at this point. You know, it's paperweight. But it didn't sell very well. So the games that are on that might be the games that we will see on the PlayStation Plus service. At least starting in June. I just hope that they do not make them the 50Hz European versions like they were on the PlayStation Classic. If they are doing that, I will be so upset. I will be so annoyed. It will just show the complete tone deafness of Sony, that they're just not getting it. And it's laziness as well. But that's me jumping the gun. I hope it's not like that. But I do think that they will release the games that are currently on the PlayStation Classic, and they will bring them to PlayStation Plus. How often they will update the library with new titles is beyond me. There was plenty of people that bugged me about this. And the people I'm talking about are people that are looking at this service, and particularly the premium service, and are expecting games like Gran Turismo 1 and 2, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2, any game that, like Spider-Man by Activision and Spider-Man 2 Enter Electro. You're not going to get those games. I'm sorry, but you're not. I will be shocked if you do, but we won't get them. And the major reason we won't get them is licensing issues. Because of course it's licensing issues. When have you ever seen Gran Turismo 2 or Gran Turismo 1 on the PlayStation Classic Store on PS3? When have you ever seen those games show up? You haven't, because they haven't renewed the licenses for them. The same goes with Spider-Man. The licenses aren't there. So if it has licensed music or licensed products or licensed characters, Sony are not going to renew the licenses to put them on PlayStation Plus. They will not do it. They won't do it. And it's one of the reasons why I think that it's on the highest, most expensive tier. Because everything you could basically want with PlayStation Plus, at least this new service, is going to be on the PlayStation Plus Extra tier. The PS4 and the PS5 games, they're all going to be available on that. The PlayStation Plus Premium are for those that are willing to pay the extra for those extra bits. PS1, PS2, PSP. And Jim, I know what they're doing. This is a passive-aggressive thing that Jim Ryan's doing. And that he doesn't believe in retro gaming. And he thinks that this is going to be some way to prove this. This is probably me overthinking it. But I truly believe that Jim Ryan is trying to find some way to prove that nobody wants these games by putting them on the highest tier. By making it out like, if people aren't... I will prove to you that people don't want this. Nobody's going to pay for this. That's what I think. Probably wrong, but that's what I feel it is. And I feel like after 2 or 3 or 4 years, there's going to become some other shake-up where he's just not going to update the library, or he's going to remove them entirely. Now, while I'm on the subject of PlayStation Plus, I will say that if you are looking to get the PlayStation Plus extra premium service, I've got a little hack for you. If you go on, I suppose you could just Google it, but there is a way that you can get PlayStation Plus Premium before it comes out for half the price. If you go on to PlayStation Now and you buy a subscription, you will see that you can only buy the month. But there is a way you can go back and actually buy the annual service for PlayStation Now. And if you do that, you will get, like, if you go, you can Google it. All you need to do is Google PlayStation Now 1 year. Go to the Eurogamer.net article. Or find any other article, like Kotaku. In fact, I'm going to do this right now. On Kotaku, go to the article that says, players stock up on PlayStation Now subs to save big on new PlayStation Plus. And this is basically what it is. So, what you can do is that if you go to this link, it takes you straight to the PlayStation Store. Wait, now, I don't want to jump my gun. I think they've removed it. I think they've removed it. Well, for UK people anyway, I don't know. But basically, you were able to go to the store and pay for the year, and the PlayStation Now subscription service will change to PlayStation Plus Premium, which will cost €120. If you buy PlayStation Now for the year by finding whatever link it shows you, you'll essentially get it for half price. Now, they could have gotten rid of this. I'm not sure. I could be wrong. I want to find out. I want to find out. I suppose you could buy the subscription elsewhere, like cdkeys.com or something like that, but there are ways to get a PlayStation Now subscription service for the year and get it for less when it merges to PlayStation Plus Premium. It appears they've removed it, or you'll have to go through some sort of third party to get it, but just a little tidbit for you. But yeah, PlayStation Plus is merging with PlayStation Now to basically be the new PlayStation Plus, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they do. I'm eager to see what they do. It's about time as well. It took a while, but it's about time. And while we're on the subject of PlayStation, I'm going to quickly segue into this because I've been dying to talk about this for a long time. As you may or may not know, the PlayStation 5 is and was an absolute bastard to find. I have been basically casually looking for one for the better part of a year and a half. You know, I tried to get one around launch, I couldn't get one. The money that I had for it ended up being spent on a brand new monitor and gaming desk for my PC. And it got to a point where between then and now, it was a case of having money for it and not finding one, or finding one but not having the money. So I was never able to sync everything up until very recently. I finally got a PlayStation 5. Particularly the disc model. And leading up to that was stressful. Especially the last 2 months. Or the last month, should I say. Now, I've had the PlayStation 5 for over 2 weeks now. And it's everything I expected. It's brilliant. It performs amazingly. The SSD is outstandingly fast. Everything just looks gorgeous on it. And if you're someone like me, who just loves to look at games rather than play them, especially if they're graphically intensive, I will do that a lot, and I have been doing it a lot with this. So I'm in the honeymoon phase of the PS5 right now, and I'm absolutely in love with it. But how I got it was a nightmare. Now, like as we all know, PlayStation 5's a little bit more difficult to find than Xboxes. I was this close to getting an Xbox Series X, because they are actually starting to become more available where I am. I was this close to buying one, but my missus told me, don't, because you really want a PS5. Get that first. Find that first. And then get an Xbox when you get a chance. So I took her advice, and I decided to save up for a PS5 again. And I started doing it last month. Because I think now's the time, I thought. I've got to get one this year. So I started about a month ago, and how I started was the worst way to start. I didn't look for any official outlets. I looked on eBay. And that was the worst thing I could have done, because how this happened, I don't know why I got so naive with this. I tend to give people the benefit of the doubt, and it always ends up not in my favour in the end. And a lesson has been learned. I dodged a bullet here as well. Now, I found someone selling a PS5 with pictures, with a description, and he was local. Well, when I say local, he was from the town I used to live in 2 years ago before I moved up here. And he was selling a PS5 with a bunch of games, 2 games I think, 3 games, and a controller and a camera. All for 400 or 550 euro. And I thought, that's pretty affordable. I'll ask him a bunch of questions. So I asked him, is this still available? Yes, it is. Are you interested? I might be. I asked him for details on it, how he wants to go about payment. And the first thing he told me should have been the red flag that I should have spotted instantly. He told me, you see, now when I'm interested in something on eBay, I typically go to the buy it now section because I have no interest in bidding. It stresses me out. And I've used eBay for 15 years at this point, and I know how it works. Well, most of the time, you see a thing, or I see a thing, I'm interested, I buy it, and that's it. It's always been that way. I don't tend to look for anything out of the ordinary on eBay. I tend to just buy things on eBay because they're generally cheaper, and I mostly use it for retro stuff. They're mostly reliable. I see the thing, I click add to basket, I buy, it goes straight to him. PayPal is the best way to pay. It's never let me down. And this person was selling a PS5, the payment method he preferred, according to the buy page, the product page, was PayPal. So I'm like, okay, I'll buy it with PayPal. Done. Now, I'm always of the opinion that the worst that can happen when you buy something with PayPal is that the payment or the item will not be what was described and you'll get a refund. PayPal is very good with that. They've never let me down. I've never been screwed over by PayPal. They're the best way to buy stuff with. And that's what was going through my mind with this. I didn't have anything to lose, really, except my dignity. And wait till you hear this. This was completely on me. I should have read the signs. And it wasn't until after the problem was solved where I discovered exactly what kind of person this person was. So, I used PayPal, and then he messaged me. He sent me a personal message on eBay and said, let me find it first, because this is too good to, like, basically, let me just give you a little bit of a quick shorthand of this. If something appears too good to be true, it probably is. Don't do it. Basically. Now, I'm going to go onto my messages regarding this. Still can't believe I did this, but here we go. This was on the 16th of March. After I paid for it, he messaged me and said, if you are interested in the PS5 and want to do a bank transfer, I'll send it with DPD at my expense. I don't use PayPal as I have had security issues with it in the past when it was hacked. That is why I suggested bank transfer. Because my PayPal was hacked, I cannot access it, and eBay has put all my transactions on hold, so I would be unable to get the payment through eBay. Posting and tracking information will be provided. 50% now and 50% on delivery. That will more than likely put you off buying, but unfortunately I have no other option at the minute. €500 he offered to sell it to me for. And that message right there is what should have been me going, do you know what? I'll leave it. Now, I responded by saying, I've already bought it with PayPal. I've already paid for it like with PayPal, so I'm going to have to get on touch with PayPal to get a refund and continue from there. And that's what I said. I still can't believe I did this, but I should have known it was my fault. So I said, I'll have to get in touch with PayPal and process the refund first. He did not get back to me. I said to him that PayPal have successfully opened a dispute for me and said they have emailed you with regards to processing a refund. They need you to get in contact with them within 10 days. He didn't get back to me within 10 days. He got back to me well after the fact. He got back to me on the... I tell a lie. He got back to me on the 21st of March. Asking me for my air code. The courier has contacted me. You know, I'll ring first thing in the morning. All this nonsense. And then on the 24th of March, about a week later, he said, sorry I didn't get back to you. My partner has the receipt in their car because I asked for tracking information. The receipt was in her car and I'll get it once they are home from night shift and I will send it on to you. At this point, I'm like, no. And now at this point, my PayPal was processed. My refund was processed, and I was waiting on the refund coming back. It was guaranteed. I didn't have anything to worry about. It was all sorted. But my missus wanted to find out more. She didn't like that this person was trying to scam me, because it was a scam. And she decided to message him interested in the PS5 that he was supposedly selling. And he got back to her saying, yeah, I will offer you the PS5 for €400. This was all while the transaction was still going ahead with mine. He had also posted it again for €600 while my transaction was still going ahead. So I should have known. I should have known and I didn't. Oh, I still can't believe it. But it was a lesson learned. And I will not, but just do yourself a favour. Don't do what I did, right? If something seems too good to be true, it probably is. Do it through official means. Do it through proper outlets. And it'll be fine. So once I got the money back, or just on my way to getting the money back, there is an electrical store in my country called Curry's. It used to be called PC World. They merged. Curry's announced a drop of PS5 consoles, but bundles only. And the bundle I found was €580 with a controller. And I just said, you know what? I will put down the extra €80 if I can get this. So I did. And it went through. It was delivered to me within 2 days. I got a PS5 with an extra controller. The relief I had as a gamer, as someone who plays games every day, and as someone who was almost not desperate for a PS5, I just really, really wanted one. I just really, because it was time to have one in my books for me. It was time for me to have one. And the relief, I can't even begin to describe the relief. Cathartic doesn't even begin to describe it. Just, finally, I have a next-gen console. Finally, I can join the conversation, and finally, I can experience, I can get back on track with enjoying modern games with modern consoles. A good friend of mine also got an Xbox Series S. He's also joined the next-gen ecosystem. It's just, finally, we've just came to a moment where we can finally get the new consoles. And I'm delighted to finally say that I have a PS5. I've been holding off on talking about anything PS5 related because it was just, I couldn't join in on the conversation. So I finally have one, and I'm delighted, and I'm really, really happy, and I just hope that I can get an Xbox Series X a lot easier than it was to get a PS5, and that, I know it's a ways off, but I'm glad to know that by the time I do decide to get an Xbox Series X, it won't nearly be as lengthy as it was to get a PS5. So I'm really happy, I finally have one, I'm delighted. Do not buy a single console off of someone unless it's someone you know. Don't do what I did. Stupid thing to do. All manner of grilling was deserved. Should have known the red flags were there. But because I knew that I was going to get a refund in the process, I wasn't too sore about it. But it was a lesson learned. Do not do what I did. If you're going to buy a new console, buy it out of a shop when it's in stock. Or buy it off of someone you know if they're selling it. Just don't do what I did. Yeah, so I'm delighted. I have a PS5 and I'm really happy. Staying on topic with PlayStation, however, on Friday past gone, it has been revealed that Chrono Cross and other classics have suddenly expired on PlayStation 3 and PlayStation Vita. I'm pulling this from Kotaku, and there's a lot of bullshit surrounding this, but I want to believe that it's just a bug. But it says here that digital purchases are mysteriously expiring on classic PlayStation consoles, rendering a random assortment of games unplayable. Over the last several days, PlayStation users have reported strange, decades-old expiration dates being applied to their digital games. Upon re-downloading the PS1 Classic version of Chrono Cross, for instance, Twitter user Christopher Foose was told the purchase expired on December 31st, 1969, preventing him from playing the game on both PS3 and PlayStation Vita. Gabe's Hub editor Edmund Tran described a similar issue. Trying to boot up Chrono Cross on PlayStation 3, Tran said, gave him the expiration date and time only adjusted for his location in Australia. Tran did mention, however, that he was able to download the PS1 Classic from his library and played just fine on Vita, despite the game's apparent delisting from the handheld store. While at first, yeah, this is actually quite shocking. So, he proceeded to post a screenshot of this on Twitter, and it does indeed show that he bought the game on the 1st of May 2014, and it has expired on the 31st of December 1969, which is weird. A weird bug. I'm sure it'll get fixed. I can't imagine this is something that Sony is doing knowingly. I'd imagine this is some sort of problem. But reading on, it says, while at first this felt like an attempt at encouraging Chrono Cross fans to purchase the new Radical Dreamers remaster, Kotaku quickly found evidence of the same problem occurring with different games. Chrono Cross worked just fine for content creator words, but not its spiritual predecessor, Chrono Trigger, the license for which somehow lapsed 40 years before the game was added to the PlayStation 1 Classics library. Steve J over on Twitter asked PlayStation directly why the expiration date for its copy of Final Fantasy VI was changed to 1969, but never received a response. Reddit user Gyrocop reported that their PlayStation 3 was giving them guff about Rune Factory Oceans earlier this week. They were also told that their license for the digital purchase ran out in 1970. Switching to a different console did not help. Two separate threads on the Vita subreddit shared the same story, with one poster claiming that their entire library of digital games remained affected, and even after trying solutions like resubscribing to PS Plus and factory resetting the system. And finally, someone on GameFAQs reported a now familiar 1969 expiration date for the PS1 Classic version of Final Fantasy Origins 3 days ago. The only potential explanation I've seen for this issue thus far involves what's known as Unix epoch, or the arbitrary date early engineers designated as the beginning of the operating system's lifespan. Some bug or glitch on Sony's backend may be defaulting PlayStation game license expiration dates to the Unix epoch, essentially telling them that they cannot be played after midnight UTC on January 1st, 1970. Kotaku contacted Sony about these issues, but did not hear back before publication. And basically, yeah, it's a bug. So this is definitely going to be something that will be fixed. Because a lot of people are saying like that this is Sony's way of stopping you from playing old games in order to play the new versions of those games, but obviously that's been completely debunked, as it is not just a Chrono Cross problem. And if you didn't know already, Chrono Cross has been recently remastered and is now available to play on newer platforms, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, this sucks, but I reckon it'll be fixed. I don't think this is anything to do with Sony's urge to remove older console games from their platforms. I don't think that's the case. So, yeah. It sucks, but I'm sure it'll be fixed. Max Payne, the third-person action game released in 2001, and its sequel are being remade using the Control engine. This new standalone compilation will be funded by Rockstar Games, and I'm pulling this from Kotaku once again, and it says, film noir sad sack Max Payne is getting his due with a full remake on the first two games, developer Remedy Entertainment announced today. The new compilation will include both Max Payne and Max Payne 2 The Fall of Max, and be exclusive to PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. Remakes of the PS2 era games are part of a new publishing agreement with Grand Theft Auto maker Rockstar Games. Remedy will develop the games using its proprietary Northlight game engine, which made 2019's excellent paranormal thriller Control, while Rockstar will fund the production. The Max Payne games mixed together traditional crime noir tropes and comic book storytelling to weave together a grim tale of a detective whose life spirals out of control after his drug and mob connections lead to his family's murder. The games were also famous for their then unusual bullet time mechanic. The studio says development will be, quote, in line with a typical Remedy AAA game production, end quote, and that it's still in the concept stage. It's years away, in other words, which is probably why it is not coming to PS4 or Xbox One. But in the meantime, the studio has been doing just fine for itself, and with that I mean the developers have doubled their profits in 2020 without making a single game. So this is great news, because I'm a fan of Max Payne, but I'm not the biggest fan, and that does not mean to say I don't like it. I love it. It's just I've never actually beaten Max Payne 1 or Max Payne 2 from start to finish. And you could say I kind of cheated when I played those two games, because these games came out around a time where I didn't care to try to beat games as a teenager. So I was still coming off of using cheats and cheat codes on the likes of Grand Theft Auto and all that. So I played games for the hell of it, really. I never took games nearly as passionately as I do now. I played games purely for fun, and well, I still do, but like I don't use cheats or any exploits in my games anymore. So I play them as the developers intended. So when I played the original Max Payne, I used to use level skip cheats if a level was being too hard. Often to the point where I would just skip straight to the end and just play all the levels in a stupid order. I didn't care about the story. I didn't care about any of that. I just wanted to play the game. And I used to skip the sections of Max Payne that were like horror dream sequences. I did not like them. I thought they creeped me out. And even now I find them really difficult to play. But yeah, so basically I'm a fan of Max Payne without actually being a fan, if you get what I'm saying. I appreciate them. I have a lot of nostalgia for them. They're good games, but they haven't exactly aged particularly well, especially the first two games. They're fun, but I would probably play them on PC quicker than I would play them on console. But besides that, Remedy are a fantastic developer. They make stellar games. I don't think I've ever played a game by them that was actually anywhere near bad. Maybe Quantum Break, I could say that, but I haven't actually played Quantum Break despite owning it for a number of years. But I do have a lot of respect for Remedy Entertainment. Their games are brilliant. Control, of which I've played so far, is fantastic. I've still got to go back and beat that game. I've played Alan Wake. I beat that years ago. Thought it was absolutely fantastic. Cannot wait to play Alan Wake 2. Yeah, so there's another game coming out which has got the working title Condor. So Remedy are doing good for themselves. So I say they have deserved the right to go back and remake Max Payne 1 and 2. And using the Control engine, I can only imagine how good those games are going to play. And it makes me wonder, how jarring is it going to be going from Max Payne 1 and 2 to playing Max Payne 3 if you're going to play it in order? Is it going to be a jarring case of these games are going to play so well that Max Payne 3 is going to feel dated? Because Max Payne 3 came out in, 2012, I want to say, or 2011? So the game's not exactly young. The game, while plays brilliantly, plays quite differently from Control and Alan Wake, despite Alan Wake coming out prior. But, no, I think Max Payne and Max Payne 2 are in good hands here. A lot of people complaining that Rockstar are publishing this, or funding it, or whatever the fuck, and comparing it to the Grand Theft Auto trilogy remake that came out there last year. But I don't even think this even comes close. I think Remedy, because they are the original creators of Max Payne, they have full control, so to speak, over their engine. They know what they're doing, and I have full support by me, and I have faith, a lot of faith, that they will do these two games justice. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what they come up with these two remakes. And who knows, maybe I'll actually have a new appreciation for the Max Payne trilogy with these two games being remade. So I'm looking forward to it. It's been funded by Rockstar, but this isn't the first time that Rockstar has even touched Max Payne. As you well may or may not know, they published Max Payne. I think they published Max Payne 1, I don't know, but they definitely published Max Payne 2. So Rockstar have always had their fingers over Max Payne in some way, shape, or form. And Max Payne 3 was a decent game. Story-wise, it might not have been great, but it was a decent game. I remember playing it, but I don't remember much of what happened. But I remember having a lot of fun with it. The bullet time is always going to be a fantastic mechanic to play around with. So I'm curious to see what they do with Max Payne 1 and the sequel. So, yep, really looking forward to that. I'm a big fan without actually being a diehard fan, if you get what I mean. So I'm looking forward to that. Breaking news, as it were, I suppose. This news came out at 7:38 AM yesterday morning, and it has been announced that Kingdom Hearts 4 is in development. And it's not the fact that this is just a development announcement. There is screenshots, there is a full-blown trailer. Kingdom Hearts 4 is real, and it's coming out God knows when, but I'm pulling this once again from Kotaku. I'm pretty much stuck on Kotaku today. But Kingdom Hearts 4 has been announced, and Sora has got an updated look. And it says, as part of the series' 20th anniversary celebrations, Square Enix just used a Sunday evening presentation in Japan to unveil 2 new Kingdom Hearts games, one of them being Kingdom Hearts 4. The show, held in Tokyo, had live music, artwork presentations, and on-stage appearances from series director Tetsuya Nomura, series composer Yoko Shimomura, and other development members. The big news, though, was the Kingdom Hearts 4 announcement, alongside the reveal of another new Kingdom Hearts game, this one for mobile. Both trailers are included in the video below, which is on the article that I'm looking at here, viewable after a short sequence for Kingdom Hearts Dark Road's final story episode. Why three videos in one clip? Okay, that makes no sense. Yeah, so I'm going to have a look at the trailer now, but I'm not going to have a fucking clue what's going on, but I'll give my go. Okay. So I've just finished watching the trailer, and whoa. No, don't get me wrong, I have no fucking idea what's going on here. I played Kingdom Hearts 1 and Kingdom Hearts 2 a few years ago. I tried to, but I didn't play any game in between. I didn't play any of the other games. I only played Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2. It's just, the series is so fucking expanded and big. I just do not have the patience to go through all of it, because it's just, I've heard people saying that even if you do play every single game, it's a lot of concentration and paying attention to understand the fucking story and lore of this game. So I'm like, you know what? I'm out. I'm absolutely out. I'm just going to play these games for fun, and whatever happens in the game, happens in the game. If there's a point in the game where I'm like, why is this happening? I will look it up. I will look at a recap, and that's it. If I get confused by anything, I will look it up. Now, you could say that this will lead to me looking up something all the fucking time, but lately I've just been playing games without really diving deep into what the story is. It's just, with Kingdom Hearts, it's a case of, look, I don't want this to be homework. I just want to play the games and have fun. I had a lot of fun with Kingdom Hearts 1, and I had a hell of a lot of fun with Kingdom Hearts 2, without really needing to understand what the story was. I didn't care, and I still don't care. I've yet to play Kingdom Hearts 3. I will do at some point. I have it. I own it. I just haven't started it yet because I've got other games that I'm playing in front of it, as is the case with every fucking game that I play. But obviously I'm going to have to eventually dive into Kingdom Hearts 3 before this comes out. I'm quite surprised that Kingdom Hearts 4 got announced. I don't know why I'm surprised. And I didn't play Kingdom Hearts 3, so I don't know what the ending of that was, if it led to any sort of cliffhanger or anything like that. But I'm shocked that Kingdom Hearts 4 got announced so soon after Kingdom Hearts 3 was released. Because it felt like we were waiting so long for Kingdom Hearts 3. Well, Kingdom Hearts fans were. Kingdom Hearts 3 was in development for so long, and the gap between 2 and 3 is so large, I think. I could be wrong. It just felt like it was released a long time after it started development. And I don't know if it's going to be the same case here, considering they've just released a trailer, which seems to be an in-engine trailer. The new game for mobile, Kingdom Hearts Missing Link, a closed beta for it is coming out later this year, depending on where you are. So they seem to be neck deep in developing this, so yeah, I guess I'll get it. But I've got the Kingdom Hearts. I've basically got every game in the series except maybe whatever came out after 3. But I just don't have the patience to go and play them all. I just don't, but maybe one day I might. But as it stands, the next game I'm going to play in that series will be Kingdom Hearts 3 in preparation for Kingdom Hearts 4. But there are so many games in this series. I can't even bear to even comprehend what the story is. And at this point, I don't care. I just enjoy the gameplay. The gameplay is super fun. So, Kingdom Hearts 4. Looks good. Looks very different from what I'm used to seeing. It doesn't look nearly as cartoonish as previous installments. Looks like it's been set in the real world now at this point. And Sora, a lot of people are mentioning this, but apparently Sora looks a lot different from prior installments. Now, I've got barely a recollection of what he fully looks like, but I do know that he looks more cartoonish than he does here. In this one, he looks a lot more realistic. Even his shoes have been shrunk. I remember his shoes being comically large, like clown feet, clown shoes, and they don't look nearly like this, like that in this game. So definitely a more mature look for Sora. Yeah, Kingdom Hearts 4, everyone. It's a thing. It's happening. It's coming out. There are too many Kingdom Hearts games. But I will play this, but I need to play 3 first. So looking forward to it. I guess if you're a fan, this is great news. I'm not sure. But good on you, Square Enix. Looking forward to seeing what you do with this. Sad news for Nintendo fans, particularly Legend of Zelda fans, that the sequel to Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild has indeed been delayed to spring 2023. Are you surprised? I'm not. I'm not surprised at all. It was originally set for this year. Oh well. But I'm pulling this from TheVerge.com, and it's quite a simple 2-paragraph article that says the still unnamed sequel to Breath of the Wild has been delayed to 2023 spring. Producer Eiji Aonuma announced today in a video update. Sorry, I didn't pronounce his name properly. The game had been previously set for a 2022 release window. Quote, "We have decided to extend our development a bit and change the release to spring 2023, end quote. In order to make this game's experience something special, the entire development team is working diligently on this game, so please wait a while longer, end quote. Nintendo first revealed that it was working on a sequel to Breath of the Wild in 2019, followed by a brief look at the upcoming title's new gameplay at E3 2021 last year. According to Aonuma, we will see According to Aonuma, we'll see gameplay extend up to... We'll see gameplay extend up into the skies of the vast open-world iteration of Hyrule, along with new gameplay elements and encounters. Much of the information about Breath of the Wild 2 is still being kept secret though, including its actual title. Nintendo still refers to the game as the sequel to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Yeah. With the game now set to release next year though, there's still plenty of time for Nintendo to reveal more about Link's next big adventure. Yeah. What can you do? We're not surprised. None of us are. I'm not surprised. So, I guess we're just waiting a little bit longer. I can wait. I still haven't beaten the original Breath of the Wild, to be honest. Like, I said this already. I think when my original Switch, when it got lost, and I had to buy a new one, I had to buy all the games for it again. Because the gap of me losing it and buying it again was so large, I kind of fell off of the Switch. So all the games that I was stuck on and stuck into, I fell off them when I got the Switch a second time because I had to buy all the games again. It took me months before I was able to buy Breath of the Wild again. So I just kind of fell off of it because it felt like even though I am on my second attempt at playing the game, I've put over 100 and something hours into it in total, and I'm just exhausted from it. So I don't know if I will ever beat Breath of the Wild. Maybe one day, but I think at this point that time has passed. I had a lot of fun with it without actually beating the game. I played a lot of it, but I guess I'll just wait until Breath of the Wild 2 comes out and just look up some sort of recap. Maybe. I don't know. It's going to take a lot for me to go back to that game. But yeah, I'm not surprised. We'll see what happens. This is I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. Yeah. Okay. Breath of the Wild 2 has been delayed. Shocker. Sticking with Nintendo news, back in early March, in fact almost a week after I finished my last episode of this podcast, Nintendo, or whoever it was, announced that there's going to be a brand new Pokemon game. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet was announced almost immediately after I finished my last episode, and it was a case of I kind of finished playing Pokemon for the remainder of this season, I suppose. I was playing Pokemon Brilliant Diamond, and then I tried Pokemon Alpha Sapphire, and then I tried Pokemon Legends Arceus, and I just kind of fell off then after that. And then it was a case of this trailer coming out for the new Pokemon game, and it was me going, what's this? How does the saying go? How does the saying go? Just when I thought I was out, they pull me back in. Now I'm really, really excited about this brand new Pokemon game coming out. A brand new core Pokemon game that is going to be basically the sequel to Pokemon Sword and Shield. So I'm looking forward to this. I didn't get to play Sword and Shield properly. I may go back to it when I'm back in the Pokemon mood. As I said, I couldn't get into Pokemon Legends Arceus, and I just got exhausted at that point. But this will bring me back into the series, so I'm looking forward to that. So yeah, Pokemon, what's it called? Pokemon, lost it. Fuck me. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, and we've got the starters have been announced as well. We have Sprigatito, which is a grass type, Fuecoco, which is a fire type, and Quaxley, which is a water type. And naturally, I'm probably going to pick the fire type, because that's my type. That's my favourite. So yeah, very much looking forward to seeing more of this. I'm not the biggest Pokemon fan, but I do like the games, so I will probably dive into this. So yeah, looking forward to it. New Pokemon game, bring it on. Now, I'm going to go back to talking about Kingdom Hearts 4, but not specifically Kingdom Hearts 4, just something related to it. Now, back in September 2021, I don't know how I missed this, but a compilation of leaked GeForce Now database stuff involving games from Sony and Microsoft and other publishers. There was this leak by GeForce Now. It was a data leak, and it basically confirms a bunch, or doesn't confirm, basically lists a bunch of games that were due to release on PC. And this can be games that are either exclusive to PC or games that are also coming out on other consoles. But this leak was doing the rounds back in September, and up until now, a handful of those games have been confirmed to come to, if they're coming to PC at least. And some of these games may not have been announced for PC yet, but these are also confirming games that are coming out on consoles that haven't even been released yet or announced yet. And some of them have came true. And so far, the list are as follows. This is updated as far as Kingdom Hearts 4, and I'll get to that in a second. So, for example, Sony was leaked Uncharted: The Legacy of Thieves Collection, Helldivers 2, Horizon Forbidden West, Gran Turismo 7, Deracine, I can't pronounce that, God of War, Returnal, Demon's Souls, Ratchet & Clank, Sackboy: A Big Adventure, and Ghost of Tsushima. Now, out of that list of Sony games, only 2 games have been confirmed to be true and are out on PC, if not coming to PC. Uncharted: The Legacy of Thieves Edition, that came out on PC, and God of War came out on PC. The rest of them have not came out on PC, but they may. They probably will. And it probably won't be until at least June when the PlayStation Plus thing comes out. Moving on to Microsoft, we have Gears 6, Oxide, unannounced, whatever that means. Project Holland, which is probably Fable. Project Typhoon, which is probably Contraband. Project Woodstock, which is probably Forza. An Untitled Initiative game, which is presumed to be Perfect Dark. Halo 5 Guardians, Avowed, Kalimba, Indus, and Gravity. Out of all of those games, 1, 2, 3, or 4 games have been confirmed to be true. That is Contraband, Forza, and Perfect Dark, as well as Avowed. Over to the Square Enix side. This is where it's the most interesting. This leak also showed off games by Square Enix coming to PC. Games that haven't even been announced yet. But if any of these leaks that have been confirmed are anything to go on, it means that these games are probably going to happen as well. Which means we basically just got a bunch of game announcements that we were never sure of that were actually going to happen. The leak includes Chrono Cross Remaster, which has been confirmed, Final Fantasy Tactics Remaster, or Tactics Ogre Reborn, hasn't been confirmed. Final Fantasy Remake 7, Final Fantasy 7 Remake, definitely confirmed. Final Fantasy 9 Remake. Final Fantasy 16, which is confirmed and is coming to PC later. Tomb Raider Anniversary. It was supposed to be announced in 2021, but 2021 has passed. We can still find out about this. Now, we are getting a brand new Tomb Raider game, so we don't know what that's going to be. An unannounced title by Square Enix. Again, that ended up being Tomb Raider on Unreal Engine 5. And then there was Kingdom Hearts 4, which got announced over the weekend. So, obviously Capcom, there was Resident Evil 4 Remake, still unannounced. Street Fighter 6, definitely announced. Dragon's Dogma 2, announced. Monster Hunter 6, not announced. Sorry, Dragon's Dogma 2 was not announced. Over to the Take-Two side, we were supposed to get the GTA 3 Vice City and San Andreas remasters. They happened. Bioshock RTX remaster and Bioshock 2022 both haven't happened yet. Over on the EA side, we have Mirror's Edge RTX remaster, Untitled Respawn game, which ended up being Star Wars, Titanfall 3, Bandai Namco, we have Tekken 8, unannounced, Humans Fall Flat, unannounced, well, the second one, the Talos Principle 2, unannounced, Crysis 4, announced, I think. Well, it is in development, we know that much. Earth Defense Force 6 announced. Bayonetta 3, Judgment, Catherine Full Body, Shin Megami Tensei 5, Batman Arkham Knight RTX Remaster, Half-Life 2 Remastered, Project FPS. All this shit. All these games. There's so much more. I'm not going to go through them all. All these games that were leaked. Some of them have happened, which means these games are at the very least in development. The ones that haven't been announced yet. And the one that's standing out for me is Final Fantasy IX Remake. And I'm quite shocked at this, to be honest. Because of all games to be remade, that was not one I expected. Now, Final Fantasy IX is a fantastic game. It's probably the only Final Fantasy game, bar 15, that I've actually beaten. But Final Fantasy IX, according to Video Games Chronicle, it says Final Fantasy IX Remake looks more likely following Kingdom Hearts 4 announcement, and that the game was part of the GeForce Now leak, which has proven accurate so far. And it says, evidence of a Final Fantasy IX remake is mounting following the announcement of Kingdom Hearts 4 on Sunday. Kingdom Hearts 4 is the latest Square Enix game listed in the GeForce Now database leak to be confirmed as real, with only Final Fantasy IX left as the sole title to be announced or trademarked by Square Enix. A remake of Final Fantasy Tactics is also expected following the news that Square Enix has trademarked Tactics Ogre Reborn in Japan. The GeForce Now database leak revealed several unannounced Square Enix titles that would later be confirmed, such as the PC version of Final Fantasy VII Remake and a remaster of Chrono Cross. The same leak would also reveal a PC version of God of War and Uncharted Legacy of Thieves. NVIDIA confirmed at the time that the leaked GeForce Now database list containing God of War, PC, Gears 6 and more is real, but it claimed that the games on it were speculative. According to Windows Central, many of the Microsoft code names mentioned on the NVIDIA database are related to actual projects, some of which have already been announced as real games, such as Playground's Fable reboot. Final Fantasy IX was released in 2000 for the PS1. It was directed by Hiroyuki Ito, who would later direct Final Fantasy XII. The game was re-released in 2010 as a PS1 classic on the PS3, PSP, and would later also come to the PlayStation Vita. In 2016, the game, along with some minor graphical improvements, was released on PS4 and PC. It is unclear when a potential Final Fantasy remake could fit into Square Enix's release schedule. It's currently working on Final Fantasy XVI, Kingdom Hearts 4, Forspoken, Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2, and it seems a Final Fantasy Tactics remake. And I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that this list of leaks, for the most part, is real. Because so far, everything's happened. So far, everything has been correct. Almost everything has been correct. And consider this your list of games to look forward to, at least in the next decade, I would say. And out of all of them, I'm really interested to see. I mean, in this list as well, there's also Metal Gear Solid 2 and 3 HD, but I don't think that's going to happen. Death Stranding's Director's Cut was part of this list, and that happened. Sniper Elite 5 happened. So Final Fantasy IX, I would love to see that being remade. It's the only one I've beaten. Believe it or not, I haven't beaten Final Fantasy VII, but I do still have the save file for PS1 that brings me to the final boss. I just wasn't high enough level to do it, and I still haven't done it, and that was back in 2011, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, Final Fantasy IX, it seems almost a sure thing at this point. And if Kingdom Hearts 4 was anything to go by, which to the untrained eye, was out of nowhere. But with this leak, it proves that it's happening. So Final Fantasy IX Remake is definitely happening. I'm just shocked that if they announce this year at the very least, how they're going to be able to balance that, Kingdom Hearts 4 and Final Fantasy VII Remake, which isn't finished yet when you think about it. We've still got another part, at least, to look out for. Because that story's not done. So I wonder, I'm curious, when they do Final Fantasy IX, is it going to be the same ordeal where it's split into multiple parts? Or are they just going to take longer to release this and just release it in one massive package? I find it quite funny that Final Fantasy VIII is totally getting snubbed. It just goes to show that out of the 3 PS1 mainline entries of that series, Final Fantasy VIII is the most divisive. But Gears 6 is obvious. Gears 6 is obvious. Because, spoilers for Gears 5, if you care, there is a cliffhanger at the end of Gears 5. So there's going to be a Gears 6. That goes without saying. But it seems like all these games, if they're already out, there's almost definitely going to be a PC port coming within the next few years. And the games that haven't been announced, games that we don't even have yet, are almost guaranteed with this list if recent announcements are anything to go by. But I'm curious to see what Tomb Raider Anniversary is going to be. I know that there's a new Tomb Raider game being announced. I know that much. I don't know much about it apart from the fact that there is a new Tomb Raider game being made, and apparently it's going to combine modern Tomb Raider with classic Tomb Raider. I don't know how they're going to work around that. I didn't look too much into it. Maybe next time I'm doing this podcast, I'll look into it. But yeah. So yeah. Final Fantasy IX is probably going to be announced God knows when, but it seems to be happening. And I'm dying to see what they do with it. I really am. I reckon it'll probably get revealed either during the summer, if it is, or maybe next year. Who knows? But so far, the GeForce Now leaks have been quite accurate thus far, which is kind of creepy. But here we go. Let's go. Let's fucking go. So it's that part of the episode now where I discuss or talk about what I've been playing lately. And, well, it's been a bit of an up and down one in the last month because I started after I finished playing Pokemon games. After I finished playing Pokemon games, I decided to dive back into Horizon Forbidden West. Or at least I got Horizon Forbidden West in February and started that on PS4. And then it got to a point where I was like, do you know what? I've seen the footage on this on PS5. Now, don't get me wrong. The PS4 version of Horizon Forbidden West is gorgeous. It's absolutely stunning. It's probably the best looking PS4 game I've ever seen. It's just incredible looking. But I had this... I had a feeling of FOMO, feeling of being left out, or fear of missing out, and seeing all the footage of the PS5 version and hearing people talk about... Like, I couldn't listen to a review of Horizon Forbidden West by people because they kept talking about how it looks on PS5. And then when someone was asked about the PS4 version, now, I stood up and said to myself that the PS4 version was incredible. Was brilliant. But other people who only played a little bit of it on PS4 were sitting there saying, if you're going to play this game, you need to play it on PS5. And I just felt like I was being snubbed and feeling a bit left out. As if to say, like, because it felt like they were saying that the PS4 version isn't good enough. But for me, it was perfect. It is. It's a brilliant version of the game. So it really took me aback. I was like, I think it's time. I made the jump. I'm going to try it again. So that's what I did. I went and bought a PS5 and finally got one. I am now a proud owner of a PlayStation 5. And one of the first games I decided to install was Horizon Forbidden West. I downloaded the PS5 version, and that is what I am currently trying to beat right now. That is, like I said earlier on at the start of this episode, I'm going through the honeymoon phase of this console. And for me, what that means is that whenever I buy a brand new console, I'll want to play all these different games to see how they look. Or if I buy an upgrade of any console, I want to play different games to see how they look. So I got a PS5 with no games with it, because I already have plenty of PS4 games, and some of them are upgradable to PS5. So I downloaded a bunch of PS5 versions of different games that I own, just to see what they look like, and I bought new games to see what they're like. I've been jumping in and out of different games. I tried to play Watch Dogs Legion. That game finally looks decent. I got to play God of War 2018, how that looks. I got to play Assassin's Creed Odyssey. That runs a lot better. I downloaded Ride 4 because I've always wanted to play that game from seeing that replay footage that was shown off on PS5. I downloaded that to play that. I played so many different games over the last 2 weeks that I haven't really stuck to one game. I even bought Cyberpunk 2077 for the first time over the weekend. I finally have Cyberpunk 2077 after waiting and waiting and waiting on a brand new version of that game to come out that runs decent, that isn't broken, that isn't problematic in any way. I'm hearing a lot of good things about the PS5 version of Cyberpunk 2077, and I said I would wait until I had a next-gen, or in this case, current-gen, console to play it. I waited, I finally got one, I have Cyberpunk, that is on the back burner. I got to play the first half hour of that game. It plays very well. I'm going to hold it, or I'm going to hold off and continuing until I've settled down to going back to trying to beat some games, and Horizon Forbidden West is my next game that I'm going to try and beat. Other games that I'm playing, and coincidentally with it, I'm playing Rocket League with my missus. I'm also playing Borderlands 3 with my missus. What's great about that is that I'm still, I've got Borderlands 3. I bought it, and it was like €15 on the spring sale on the PlayStation Store. So I have Borderlands 3. And the cool thing about this is that I didn't think this would work. See, what I used to do on the PS4, when both me and my missus had a PS4, is we would game share. Which means that, now, this is a grey area. This isn't wrong, and it's not right, it's not wrong either. But what I did was I would make her PlayStation 4 my primary, and her PlayStation 4 my primary, and my PlayStation 4 her primary. And what that means is that I could log in to her PlayStation 4 with my account and download any games that I own onto that console, and she would have access to those games without me needing to be signed in. She would get to play those games because it would be my primary console would be the games that I have that she could play, and it was vice versa for me. What I'm actually quite surprised by in a good way is that I'm still able to do this with the PS5 and PS4 together. So I gave her my old PS4, my PS4 Pro. I gave her that. She now has my PS4 Pro. And that remains my primary PS4 console. Which means I was able to go into my library, download Borderlands 3, and leave it on the console for her to play. And I, using the PS5, I'm able to play Borderlands 3 on that at the same time. So essentially, I'm able to play Borderlands 3 with my missus with one copy. With one purchase. On separate consoles. PS5 and PS4. I didn't know you could do that. I thought it was PS4. I thought it was one console only. I didn't know it was cross-generational thing. And it's so cool. And I'm doing the same thing with Rocket League. I think she owns it though, so I'm not really sure on that part. But we're playing Rocket League together, we're playing Borderlands 3, and we're also playing It Takes Two. But we're playing each game gradually, depending on the mood. So we've got something to do. And I tell you what, the performance of that PS5, I cannot get enough of it. It runs everything so well. There is even an upgrade for Dying Light, the first one, recently, that allows you to play that game in 1440p 60 on a PS5. Not possible on a PS4. It does so much to so many different games. Even Infamous Second Son runs at, I don't know if it runs in 4K, but it runs at 60 frames per second on PS5. Now, I'm not sure if it does that on PS4 Pro, because I never played it on PS4 Pro. I only played it on base PS4. So I've only ever experienced Infamous Second Son in 30 frames per second, 1080p. So the fact that I was able to... And do you know what the best part about it is? Infamous Second Son, despite being released in 2014, it looks amazing. The graphics are still amazing on that game. It looks astounding. And it even looks better in 4K, which I think it's on. So, yeah, I'm still going through the honeymoon phase, but I'm trying my best to stick to Horizon Forbidden West. And my opinion on Horizon Forbidden West is as follows. I don't know what the story is. I honestly do not know what the plot is. I got a basic outline, in that, like, without spoiling anything, basically, the world has become poisoned by something, and it's my job to fix it, basically. It just plays. It plays very much like the original game, with brand new upgrades and features that were added to it, and I'm really enjoying it. It's really fun, and I don't know what I'm going to dive into after I'm finished. There's a lot of games. I forgot to say this. I also got Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which I haven't touched yet. I haven't even turned it on yet, because in my mind, it doesn't feel right for me to drop a game and start another when the game I dropped I was already enjoying. So it's basically a case of me having a short attention span for the wrong reasons. There's no reason for me to drop Horizon Forbidden West, because I'm absolutely enjoying it. It's just a case of me being impatient, because I want to play so many games on this console. So I am still, like I said, in that phase where I'm just playing everything on it. But I am playing Horizon Forbidden West for the most part, and I hope to have it beat by the end of the week. But yeah, Horizon Forbidden West, brilliant game, stunning. I'm playing it in performance mode at the minute, which basically is dynamic 4K with 60 frames per second, and I'll tell you what, I personally don't care that much for frame rate. I never have. Don't get me wrong. When a game gives me the option to play in 60 frames per second, I'll play it in 60 frames per second if I can. But I won't desire it. I won't drop a game if it's 30 frames per second and isn't 60. I won't drop it for that. That's silly. You know, I played PS2 growing up. Most of their games were in 30 frames per second. So I'm used to it. I'm a console gamer, not a PC gamer. So I don't really care. But with the PS5, with the upgrades that they're given to half the library at this point, most of these upgrades being upgraded to 60 frames per second, it's it's becoming very difficult to go back to 30 frames per second. Now, it's easy for me to say this because when I play these games that do have performance mode, I'm using that option. If a game comes out on PS5 that doesn't have a 60 frames per second mode on boot, it probably won't bother me. But it's hard to deny the appeal of playing a game in some sort of 4K resolution at 60 frames per second. It's very hard to go back to 30 once I've done that. Once I've selected performance mode. So, I mean, Destroy All Humans, the remake that came out a few years ago, that now runs at 60 frames per second on PS5. It didn't on PS4 or PS4 Pro. Same goes with the original Ratchet and Clank remake or reboot. doesn't run on 30 frames per second on PS4 or PS4 Pro, but it does. It runs on 60 frames per second on PS5. So these games that I've always associated with playing at 30 frames per second are now playing like this on PS5, and it's hard not to appreciate it more. Playing Horizon, for example, with the 60 frames per second combined with the SSD hard drive in the console, which allows everything to load really quick, makes it a very snappy experience, and I absolutely love it. And it just makes me appreciate the enhancements more. So I don't know, like, I'm still playing around with everything. I'm still getting used to the UI, the interface, and everything like that. But my God, what a console! What a console! I am so glad I didn't dive into an Xbox Series X. Not that I'm not going to. I will get a Series X, because there are a lot of games on the Series X on Xbox that I want to play on the Series X as well. Like Grand Theft Auto 4. I heard that got a decent enhancement for Xbox Series X, or at the very least it runs the best on that console. I want to wait until I have that so that I can play that. Basically, I'm buying these consoles to not only to play brand new games, but to allow myself to play older games that look and play a lot better, because they can now. So everything's brilliant right now. I'm so glad I finally have one. I can relax. I'm enjoying what I'm playing right now. I'm playing Horizon Forbidden West, and it's fantastic. And I think that's it. I think that's all I've got time for. Okay. We have now come to the end of this episode of the GB Gaming Podcast. If you made it this far, thank you very much. You know what to do, all that jazz. So, until the next time, thank you for taking the time to watch this episode, and I'll see you whenever I see you. Take care, stay safe, and cheerio. Goodbye. Thank you for taking the time to watch or listen to this content. If you want to see more, then please check out my YouTube channel at youtube.com/gamerbhoy. That's GAMERBHOY. Gamerboy with an H. This is the home of GB Gaming, the home of GB Reviews. Blame on that one level that killed me 68 fucking times. All just so I could get a couple of fucking letters. Just play. Ah! Right, that's it, I'm done. No. Just ran. The Metal Gear franchise is made and owned by a scumbag company such as Konami, and it bugs me that my new love for the Castlevania franchise is somewhat diminished. And of course, the GB Gaming Podcast, available on both YouTube and Spotify. If you're a Spotify user, be sure to use the search bar and input GB Gaming Podcast. All my episodes are here, as well as SoundCloud if that's your thing. If you're a SoundCloud user, then all you need to do is visit soundcloud.com/GB Gaming. That's soundcloud.com/GB Gaming. If you like all of what I've just mentioned, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell to be notified on all future content. I'm also on Twitter. You can find all my stupid opinions if you search for me at GamerBoy89. All of my channel updates go through here as well, so if you haven't hit the bell, you can always find updates here. You don't have to do any of that if you don't want to though. If you're just a passerby, then thank you for stopping in. Don't forget to leave feedback. I'm always looking to improve on things, so don't be shy to say what you think. Once again, thank you for visiting GB Gaming, where video games come first.